At Christmas dinner, my mom pulled out our old photo albums, and my fiancé froze. He grabbed my hand and whispered, "Don't you see it?" I didn't, but when he showed me, I couldn't unsee it. 5 hours later, I was on the phone with the police, telling them I think I'd been kidnapped as a child. Lucas didn't say a word until we were in the car. He just drove, eyes fixed ahead, jaw tight, like every mile between us and my parents' house was a relief. Then he reached into his coat and pulled out a small stack of loose photos. I didn't even see him take them. "Look," he said. The first one seemed harmless. Me at 6 years old in a pink coat, standing in front of a stone wall I barely remembered. Then he handed me 2 more. Different backgrounds. A fence, a fountain, a swing set. But my face was exactly the same. Same angle, same expression, same lighting. It wasn't just similar. It was identical, like someone had copied and pasted me into different places. My stomach tightened. "They reused my face," I whispered. He didn't smile. Instead, he slid over another photo. A baby in someone's arms. Pale skin, lighter hair, different bone structure. "That's not you," he said quietly. "I don't think they ever had baby pictures of you." The last one made my skin crawl. It was me, standing between my mom and dad in front of an old building. Only my outline was fuzzy. The shadows didn't match theirs. I looked like a sticker someone had peeled halfway off. I stared at it, waiting for my brain to make sense of what I was seeing. But all I could think was that something in my life had just cracked, and I couldn't put it back together. That night, the photos sat on my nightstand like they were watching me. I kept checking them, hoping the shadows would somehow fix themselves when I wasn't looking. They didn't, and then I noticed the silence inside my own head. The part of my life before age 5 was just blank. Not faded memories, not fragments, nothing. My parents always said it was the war, that my brain had protected me from trauma. I believed them. I had to believe them, because the alternative was unthinkable. But staring at those frozen smiles and mismatched shadows, something else stirred. A flash of a face, not my mother's, not the one who raised me. Softer eyes, a warmer voice, the faint smell of citrus when she leaned close. Then another memory, sharper this time. Me crying, saying, "I want Mama," and a cold hand gripping my shoulder. A voice I knew too well saying, "Don't say that again. If you talk about her, you disappear." The words didn't slam into me all at once. They leaked in, slow and poisonous, until my chest felt too tight to breathe. I realized I didn't know where I'd come from. Not really. And the people I'd called Mom and Dad my whole life might not have been either of those things. It didn't hit like lightning. It hit like drowning. One moment I was at the kitchen table, staring at those photos, and the next I was on the floor, palms pressed flat against the tiles like I was trying to hold the whole apartment in place. Lucas found me gasping, my vision blurring at the edges. He knelt beside me, reaching out, but I flinched at his touch. The words were bubbling up, too big to swallow anymore. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911. The operator's voice came on, calm and measured. 911, what's your emergency?" My mouth was dry, my chest caving in. I think I was kidnapped," I forced out. There was a pause, not confusion, but a shift, sharper now. "Ma'am, are you safe right now?" I think so. I'm home. But it was a long time ago. I think I just remembered it." Lucas took the phone, his voice steady. "She's uncovering things. Childhood photos that are clearly altered, no birth records, missing early memories. She believes she was abducted around age 5 outside the U.S. 25 years ago." The operator didn't question it. "I understand. I'm logging this as a welfare check and forwarding it to our investigative unit. If either of you feels unsafe, call us back immediately." When Lucas hung up, the apartment felt too quiet, like the air was holding its breath. But the words were out now. Someone else knew, and there was no taking them back. They didn't knock. At 8:17 the next morning, my parents, or the people I'd called my parents, were in my hallway. My mother's hair was unbrushed, her eyes red. My father clutched a manila envelope so tightly it crumpled in his fist. Lucas froze beside me, his hand hovering near my back. "Why did you call the police?" my mother asked, her voice trembling. In a way that didn't sound like fear. It sounded like rage trying to hide under concern. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. My father stepped forward and slammed the envelope onto the coffee table. The flap burst open, spilling birth. Certificates, medical forms, school photos, but none of them felt real. My name was there, my face was there, but each document felt like a copy of a copy. "You don't understand," my mother said, sitting down like she owned the room. "We saved you. You were in danger. They were going to—" She stopped herself. her lips pressing into a thin line. "Who's they?" I demanded. My voice cracked halfway through, but I didn't care. My father's eyes darted to Lucas, then back to me. "They'll find you now. And when they do, we can't protect you." I felt the floor tilt beneath me. This wasn't a denial. This wasn't even an explanation. It was a warning. And the way they were looking at me, like I was already halfway gone, made my skin crawl. After they left, the apartment felt colder, like the walls were holding onto their words. I couldn't just sit there. I needed proof, something solid. I could hold that wasn't doctored or fed to me. Lucas set up his laptop at the kitchen table while I dug through the only box of childhood things I had. Every photo, every certificate, every keepsake suddenly felt suspect. Even the handwriting on the back of the photos, always in neat, perfect block letters, looked staged, like someone trying too hard to be consistent. We started with my supposed birth hospital. The number was disconnected. The building, demolished? Years ago. No online records, no archived news. It was like the place never existed. Then Lucas tried public records. My social security number was issued when I was 7, not at birth. My passport, first obtained at age 16, listed my birthplace, but the town didn't match the one on my birth certificate. Hours blurred together. Every time we found one small inconsistency, it unraveled into something bigger. At one point, Lucas looked up at me and said, "It's like someone built you a whole life, out of spare parts." And then, at 2:43 a.m., we found it. An old missing persons database, long defunct, preserved only through an internet archive. There it was, my face, smaller, younger, with a different name under it. A last seen date that made my blood run cold, and the words beneath the photo, "Child presumed deceased. Case closed." For a long time, I just stared at the screen, my own face staring back at me from a quarter-century ago. The name beneath. It, Elena Marie Carver, felt like it belonged to someone else, someone dead. Lucas scrolled down, reading aloud from the archived report. 5-year-old Elena Carver vanished from a hotel in Belize during a family vacation. No witnesses, no ransom demand. Parents suspected of negligence, but never charged. My pulse roared in my ears. "But I've never been to Belize." He kept reading. Search called off after 6 months. Family relocated. Mother died in a car accident. Father missing. And then, a detail that made my stomach turn. The primary suspect listed in the police notes wasn't a stranger. It was a woman, a family friend, who left the country the same week I disappeared. A woman with the same first name as the one I'd called Mom my whole life. I couldn't breathe. The edges of my vision pulsed. Every birthday, every bedtime story, every "I love you" suddenly felt like stolen property. I picked up the phone and called the detective assigned to my case. He was quiet for a long moment after I gave him my name. "Where are you right now?" he finally asked. His voice had that slow, careful weight people use when they don't want to scare you. "Because if what you're saying is true, someone's been looking for you for 25 years, and they never stopped." The detective moved fast. Within hours, 2 unmarked cars were parked outside my building. I barely slept, my mind replaying every moment of my so-called childhood, every carefully planted lie. By the next afternoon, they had tracked down my biological father. When I saw him, my chest caved in. His hair was grayer, his face lined, but his eyes, my eyes, were exactly the same. He didn't say anything at first. He just pulled me into a hug that felt like the first real thing in my entire life. Through tears, he told me how he'd spent years searching, how he'd drained his savings on private investigators, plastered my photo in every country they'd visited, and refused to declare me dead, no matter what the paper said. The trial came months later. My parents, the people who'd raised me, sat stiff and cold as the evidence piled up. Forged documents, falsified school records, money transfers to offshore accounts. They had stolen me to replace the daughter they'd lost in a car crash, a truth they'd buried under layers of lies. The verdict was swift, guilty, sentenced without possibility of parole. But justice wasn't just in the courtroom. It was in the way my real father squeezed my hand as we walked out into the sunlight, free from their shadow. It was in knowing that, for the first time, I wasn't living someone else's story. Some scars will never fade, but neither will the truth. And in the end, the truth was enough to set me free. A year later, my life feels like it belongs to me for the first time. I live in a small house near the coast, the kind of place where you can hear the ocean at night and wake up to sunlight spilling through the curtains. I've learned to cook the dishes my real mom used to make, following recipes my father kept in a worn notebook. On Sundays, we have dinner together. No secrets, no fake smiles, just the kind of quiet trust I never thought I'd know. The nightmares still come sometimes. I'll wake up thinking I'm back in that old house, trapped under the weight of a life built on lies. But then I'll hear the waves or smell my dad's coffee brewing, and I'll remember that's over. I've started volunteering with an organization that helps reunite missing children with their families. Every time I see a parent wrap their arms around a child they thought was gone forever, I feel a little more whole. I can't get back the years they stole from me, but I can decide what to do with the ones ahead. And now, every day I live is proof that the truth not only set me free, it gave me a second chance to write my own story.